welcome to Your Space. My name is Hannah Arinaitwe, your host. Your Space is a show that allows you to express yourself and express your views. Now join us and let's discuss everything under the sun. With me today is a very, very interesting team that will allow themselves to introduce.
Hello. Hi. I'm Monica. I'm very excited to be here in Your Space. Very excited for the conversations to come.
Hello, I'm Patricia Achano Kiria, Deputy Inspector General of Government, and I'm very happy to be part of this show. Thank you.
I am very excited for today's episode. Now, what we do is normally driven by something at the core. The way we dress, the way we talk, the way we act, the way we do our things goes back to something deeper, something inner, and that is VALUES, values. Monica, what comes to your mind when you hear the word values?
When I hear values, I think of basic standards of operation, things that are acceptable in society that we base on so that we can have a life or at least be in an environment that we all appreciate, where people are respected and all those things. But of course, most importantly, values are things that can be passed on from one person to another, from one generation to another. So values are not inborn, they are taught to people. So, and it's subjective as well. Values are very subjective.
In terms of?
The society,
Yes.
depends on what's happening in that particular space at that particular time, the group of people we're dealing with. Yeah, so values do differ according to those small breakdowns.
Yeah.
Yeah, but basically.
Doctor, what do you think values are?
Thank you very much, Monica. Values are, standards of shared ideals of a community, shaped by several influences. It can be shaped by culture, shaped by religion, history, or even political systems. And they're accepted in a given community. Yes.
Yeah, well, but sometimes we really don't really understand why we need these values, because some of us think that twakowa, stress ya tuta, Monica, yes? I don't know, why do we even need these values, honestly? If I'm making my money and I have the things I want, do I need the values, doctor?
Yes, of course, because
Nice
you realize that values play a very significant part in the society. The importance of values cannot be over emphasized because they are the core of decision making. Because first of all, values help to shape our beliefs in a society or in a community. Values also contribute significantly to institutional transformation and individual behavior as well. Values also help to enhance positive influence. If you want to have someone impacting positively, you dig it down right from the values. And it also improves on the quality of leadership. You realize that leaders who are born and grounded with those values make better leaders because they're empathetic, they understand, they have humility, they communicate well, and they respect even the people they are leading. So values contribute significantly. They brand and promote the positive image about citizens in the country. And I believe if this conversation goes on for long, it will actually have impact and will end up shaping the values of the young people out there so that they make better leaders for this country. Thank you.
So what you're trying to say is that the way we act now is based off the values that were instilled in us before?
Yes. Yes.
Monica, do you think so? Do you think that is the reason, or you think otherwise? Your face tells me otherwise.
No, I agree 50-50. Yes, a certain level, okay, I can behave to a certain extent basing on the values that were instilled in me. But then as I mature, there is a threshold. As I mature and I become more individualistic, more independent in thought and in other things as well, I start to form my own opinions. So the values that were instilled in me now becomes my responsibility as an adult or as a growing individual to either stick to them or not. But like Doctor has said, a lot of that is informed by what was instilled in you at the growing stage.
So we have two things. values that are instilled, and sometimes you also need to have these values instilled when somebody has already grown up and maybe these values are not exactly influencing their lives at that particular point. Now, let's take a breather. When we come back, we're going to be diving into something that is very vital to us: respect. Are you respectful? Obagwe wakowa. Welcome back from the break. You're still here on Your Space with Hannah, your host. Now, before we get even into respect and all that, I'd just like to know and find out from my team if they have done a few things that need to be valued. Now, for me, when I was younger, I did a bit of stealing. Do you know the song Johnny, Johnny, Yes, Papa? Now, in that respect, I was the Johnny, Johnny with sugar all over my face, and I was still saying, no, I did not steal that sugar. And I was still saying, yes, no, Papa. But I'd just like to know from Monica and Doctor, what are some of those things your parents told you and said, this is a no, this is a yes area?
I can think of a long list. I'm sure my parents are watching me now. They can think of a long list. But the most prominent, I would say, was the part of personal responsibility. You know how you wake up, plates are in the sink, the house is not clean, the pillow is in every other place. And since I've grown up, we are 6. I've grown up in a family of, like, we're many, so it's easy to push responsibility to someone else. And you're like, I'm younger, so my brother will come and do it. And most cases, they don't. So my mom, from a very young age, taught us that if you see it wrong, do it, like, correct it. And when you're correcting it, you don't do it because you want to do it, but you do it because, okay, you do it with a mentality that there is no one else who's going to come and clean that particular space after you. So there's a level of excellence you have to execute as you're cleaning that particular space. So from a young age, it's something very vital, and I believe as I've grown, it's a value that has really helped me flourish in very many spaces. I appreciate excellence.
How? I just like to know how. How exactly would they instill that responsibility in you? Would they cane you?
No, my mom wouldn't cane, but she would just call you and show you what you didn't do, and in most cases, she'd go and start doing it when you're watching.
And then you feel guilty inside?
Like, bro, she pays your fees. But you're still making her wash. So it's a thing.
Doctor, I know you are now a bit old, but when you were younger, can you still remember something that your parents told you and said that this, shouldn't be happening or this should be happening?
Thank you very much, Hannah. My parents taught us contentment. Contentment with what you have. So that you don't pick another person's pencil in the school, so that you work hard, so that you show a sense of responsibility and treat others how you expect them to treat you. And that is the same thing I teach my children. I do not want to see anyone with any property in their suitcase which does not belong to them. Yes. So it is that responsibility which I picked from my parents. Contentment. We are content with what God has given us. We are not going to envy or want to be like others because we are who we are. Yes. But today there are issues we are dealing with in office where people are stealing billions of money. Billions of money out there. But it all stems from the theft of that pencil in school. If it has not been dealt with at that level, then the person who stole that pencil is the one stealing billions of money today. The person who stole that sugar and was not dealt with at that level is the one who is dealing with those amounts of money. So lack of values or breakdown of values is what is fueling corruption in the country today. And that is the reason why we're saying we need to instill these values right from the time people are born as children. So it calls a lot to do with parental responsibility. If my parents taught me and I'm able to teach my children, then my children should be able to teach their children, who will be my grandchildren, God willingly. So it's about the generational thing, responsibility, instilling these values so that everybody knows that I am supposed to respect my neighbor. I'm supposed to take care of the things God has given me. I'm supposed to be a responsible citizen Yes.
Monica, why were you laughing? I saw you laughing when they're talking about contentment and not having certain things in the suitcase that are not yours. Why are you laughing?
It seems she took
It
something.
seems you took something.
I didn't. They were gifts, souvenirs. Don't you remember those days when you're breaking off and then someone is like, have this scarf and keep it for yourself. So according to you, if your daughter came home with that scarf, you'd be like, you'd take it back. So I was like, yo.
I would find out who gave it to her and probe further. That is
Okay.
why I'm an investigator today. I'll
yes,
probe
please.
further. You gave her? Is it true? Oh, it was her birthday. And I'll say, okay, thank you.
Sometimes
Thank
a
you
bit
for
old.
giving.
Sometimes well, for me personally, I think that when parents are being intentional and following up on the things that you do, you end up being a better person. Now, when I used to steal that sugar way back, but I don't steal it now, so don't expect me to be stealing billions in the future.
Yes,
but before, my mom would always follow up and ensure that I am not stealing the sugar again. You know, she would ask you just randomly during the day, Hannah, are you okay? Yes. You already picked the sugar, right? Yes, mommy. So it also makes you feel a bit guilty not to go back and, check, to go back and steal that sugar. So let's be intentional, even in the things that we do as parents, or even in the things that we do as the youth. Let's not feel tied down to do things that we're not supposed to do. Now, values come hand in hand with culture. There's a way infusion of culture ends up building the people that we end up becoming. I want to ask Doctor, how do we relate culture and values in our society?
Thank you very much. There is a strong link between culture and values today because you find that values actually influence the culture. And in the past, we had our grandparents at the fireplace narrating stories, instilling values, stories which were meaningful and impacted on the lives of the children. They encouraged teamwork, for instance. People would go to the well together, do housework together, clean around, do garden work, and so on. And they were instilling values which is linked to the cultural practices and traditions. Now, when you look at Uganda today, we are talking about building values. In order to rebuild these values, we need to dig it from where it starts from the foundation. It's a foundational issue. Because if we have values as a foundation in our society, then we will have all these other pillars, the institutions, the laws, the policies would basically be linked to the values as well, just like we say culture is linked to values. Today we have examples of people who do not have the cultural values, committing crimes like embezzlement, bribery, abuse of authority and office, building in wetlands and so on, diverting public resources simply because they do not have those values instilled in them at an early stage. So building values is a collective role. It goes hand in hand with parental responsibility because when somebody is born as a human being in a family, that person should be raised with these values and the person should grow up respecting these values and respecting each other as well. And it's everyone's responsibility. Yes.
I hear a lot of people saying that this person is uncultured. I know at Makerere University, the one word that is used to put people back in line is culture. Yes. Culture. You hear them chanting culture, 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 guys, culture. So I don't know, what is being uncultured, Monica? What do you think is considered being uncultured?
I've used that word 1,000 times over before.
Yes.
Okay. Being cultured, like we had begun, in our earlier conversation, we agreed and said that values are those instilled standards of operation, or at least something we have all agreed that this is how we behave as per our community, per our family, per our ethnicity and all that. So as it is embedded in culture, because those morals are embedded in culture, those values are embedded in culture, someone is now considered uncultured when they stray from this particular line. Like imagine there is a line here of what we consider to be culture, right? To be well behavior. For instance, in your culture or in most cultures, girls are supposed to kneel down, right? You kneel down while greeting your elder. You don't talk back a certain way when an elder is addressing you. It doesn't matter whether they're wrong or not. It's just an African to respond to your elders a certain way, right? It doesn't matter your level of education and all that. So when you go to a space and you're exposed in that kind to an environment like that, and then you answer back a certain way or you don't kneel down, that is being uncultured. But now, present situation as well, being uncultured can also mean you in that class sitting in the midst of all that rubbish. That is being uncultured. Why are you not, what can't you see? We have agreed as students of this school, as people in this community, we appreciate clean environment. Why are you doing ABCD? It is you vandalizing property that belongs to the office, belongs to, So being uncultured is literally you straying away from what we have agreed to be our culture, to be our values, to be our morals, things that we have agreed enables us to operate and live peacefully.
When you say we, who do you mean we? Who is that one that is putting the line and saying this is what we consider as culture?
Anna, I think when an individual upholds good moral values and culture, they will be aware of their actions. They will definitely know and refrain from indulging in such acts which Monica is referring to as the uncultured.
Like conscience, your conscience?
Yeah, it's in here. You can tell when you've strayed. You can tell.
And that is why for us in the fight against corruption, we know that corruption can be prevented if people build strong moral values and culture of honesty, integrity, accountability, transparency, fairness, equity, and trust in themselves. So when you have that honesty in you, you will want to be as truthful. You will want everybody to enjoy a clean environment, such that if you found someone had dropped litter, you just want to pick it and clean it up so that everything is okay around. Yes.
I know, because
sense of responsibility,
consciousness. I went to Branyanji Girls, and if there's the one thing they taught us is not to litter. Even though I am trying to litter, I find myself not being able to throw it. The conscience tells me, Hannah, you're not supposed to do that. Hannah, and I find myself not doing that. But I keep hearing the word respect in everything that you people keep saying. Respect. How important is respect? What does it mean to respect each other in our society? What does it mean to respect our environment? We keep talking about littering the environment and, ensuring that what we are doing, the place around us is clean. What does it mean to be human? What does it mean to respect humanity? What does it mean to be human? Is it because I have flesh? Is it because I have blood, Monica? What does it mean to be? Is it because I have a heart that beats? Is that what makes me human?
No, ma'am.
What makes me human?
Okay. Wow. Borrowing from our constitution.
Okay.
Human rights. I believe that humanity is literally you being born a human being, right? And when you are born a human being, you are entitled to certain things. They're inherent things. I believe rights to humanity or something like that. Like literally, there are things that I owe you because you are born human, right? Because if we flip tables and those very same things are done to me, I wouldn't be comfortable with them being done to me, right? So what is the respect for humanity in this particular space? I think the threshold here is you as a human being. What would offend you? What would make you uncomfortable? What would hurt you? Don't do it to the other person. If talking about me a certain way makes me angry, if correcting me a certain way makes me angry, if there are things that I'm not comfortable with people doing to me, if there are things that I'm not comfortable with, right? Those very same things, I shouldn't be able to do it to someone else as well. If I'm on that road, how am I driving? What if I was the pedestrian? If tables flip and I'm the pedestrian, would I be comfortable with the way this guy is, swaying all over the road? And what if as another person?
I've seen people splashing dirty water on the road.
Why do we do that? You guys.
Just because you're driving a car, does that mean I'm not human?
Exactly. What if you were the one walking? So it's those small little things, really. Humanity, it's not some big thing, but it's those small little things that build up to become what we will call respect for humanity. And because we have appreciated as a people that this is what we want, this is what we would love our community to be like, it is exactly what informs our behavior and everything encompassing what?
Doctor,
respect for humanity.
Do you agree with what she says?
I agree.
Is that
I
humanity?
agree entirely with what Hannah has said, what Monica has said, because a human being is born equal in rights and dignity. Dignity which means that that human being should be respected, that human being should be treated with fairness, that human being should be brought up as a responsible person. And it links back to the parental responsibility I was talking about. Because if parents raise up children grounded in these values, grounded with respect, with dignity, grounded with responsibility, and they are taught that if a child is taught to be responsible and can do housework, can wash the plates or clean the compound, and that child will grow up with that responsibility. Even when he gets to employment, he will take his responsibility seriously. He will not leave a jacket there and abandon clients. He will not abandon the hospital if he's a doctor to go and attend to people in a private clinic somewhere. That child will respect humanity, because humanity is born with dignity, equal in rights, and has a right to health, right to a good and clean environment, a right to a healthy, conditions of living, and other rights that accrue to that human being. So it's about being born equal in rights and with dignity. Yes.
Okay, let's go in for a break. When we come back, we're going to be diving more into why this is necessary, because our society today shows us in the media that we watch, in the things that we say, that it's not really necessary. But for now, let's take a break. Welcome back from the break. You're still here on Your Space with your host, Hannah Arinaitwe. Now, I want us to just go and dive into the fact that we have been specializing the entire aspect to being an individual. You as an individual, you must do this, parents must do this. But doctor, does Uganda even appreciate the fact that we have values?
Thank you very much, Hannah. We have national values, as government of Uganda, and these values were developed and passed in 2013. We have got 10 national values. And the first one is respect for humanity and environment. And this calls for appreciation, that we have high regard for one another, like we have already discussed, regard for their beliefs and property, as well as the environment, protecting and preserving what it is God has given us as Ugandans. We are supposed to preserve the natural order and promote the coexistence between human beings and the environment. But you realize today we are undermining what we already have, and the environment is basically a gift from God. And therefore, as human beings, we have the responsibility to promote, to preserve, and conserve what we have as the environment. So Uganda, we have national values. One is respect for humanity and environment. We have got honesty, to uphold and defend the truth at all times. We have got justice and fairness in dealing with each other. And then we have got hard work for self-reliance. We have integrity, which calls for people to act with integrity and truthfulness among themselves. And we also have creativity and innovativeness, and social responsibility, social harmony, national unity, and national consciousness and patriotism. These are our 10 national values, which as Ugandans we should be practicing, we should be implementing, and it will help us cause the mindset change. We need to integrate this into our lifestyle as Ugandans, so that we can minimize the abuse of resources, we can minimize these incidences of corruption, which we have been talking about. Thank you very much.
I see a lot of dustbins around Kampala, and near those dustbins you'll find rubbish, even when the dustbin is empty. I don't know, Monica, you're laughing. Is this because you have seen this happening before?
Yeah.
Why is this happening? And do we need to be dumping the dustbin inside, the rubbish inside the dustbin?
Yes, we do. Because if you have the sense to carry it from wherever you are and bring it, and then you miss the dustbin and it falls down, the same thing should inform you to pick it and put it back. Because at least that means you appreciate the reason as to why it's there, for clean environment, right? And you know how it's irritating to have a dirty environment, and the attached disadvantages that come with it. It's irritable, it causes diseases as well, right? So why don't you just finish it, pick it, put it in the dustbin and move?
I know that the way our environment looks like is a reflection of our mind. Because personally, when I'm feeling down, I'm not going to be encouraged to clean my room or make my bed. But when I'm feeling happy, when I feel good, I'm going to clean the place and clean the environment and, clean all that. I don't know, Doctor, why do you think we should have this mindset of having a clean environment, a clean Uganda?
Having a clean Uganda is everybody's responsibility. It should not be according to moods like Hannah has put it. When I'm feeling happy, then I'll clean my room. When I'm not happy, then I have seen people out there throwing rubbish while they're in cars. Yes. Someone has eaten his cake, he's flinging out the polythene bag out and so on. I have seen people building on wetlands. I've seen poor waste management. And this all goes back to mindset. We need to change the mindset of people because God has given us the environment and the resources as gifts which we need to take care of in order to enjoy this country. Now, when we go and begin destroying that environment, when I throw that polythene bag and it blocks the drainage system, it affects the ecosystem at the end of the day, and Ugandans will fall sick. Cholera will come in. The ecosystem, we have had issues of flooding and mudslides and landslides, and many people are displaced. We would not be having such issues if we took the issue of environmental management in this country seriously and we preserve and conserve our environment and plant trees. We would not have issues or cases of mudslides and people getting displaced, because we have tampered with the natural order, and like I said, God gave us as a gift and we have failed to manage. So we are now facing the consequences. And the cost of putting back is so expensive. Just like we are losing a lot to corruption, the cost of fixing the environment is very, very, very high. So the cost to repair the environment is expensive, and it's everybody's responsibility to preserve. Just imagine, Hannah, the cost involved in flooding, having to go and open up the drainage system, bringing this heavy equipment, or dealing with the destruction by the landslides and infrastructure and so on. So it calls on everybody's responsibility to preserve and conserve the environment. We need to encourage young people out there to blow the trumpets, to lead by example, to be encouraged to plant trees, to be encouraged to clean the environments, and it starts from home, parental responsibility. If someone cannot clean around home, then how do we expect him to go and clean the school and to clean his environment in office in future? So it calls for responsibility on everybody's side. We need to first of all build the ethical values we are talking about and integrity, and then we spread it out to everybody else,
For me, I had no idea that if I littered, it would reach all that far. I had no idea it was like a cycle. Because you're not putting the rubbish in the dustbin, it could lead to blockage. Because of that, we could be spending billions of money on on rectifying the entire issue. Monica, did you know?
No, it never crossed my mind. Now that I see it from a more, area point of view, we need to change.
It's really interesting to me how one thing leads to another thing. I want to just ask Monica and Doctor, what should be our take home today?
Our take home from this entire thing is that those small little things that you might take for granted actually have a greater impact. Be it respect for humanity, be it respect for environment. The end result is usually more grievous than the inconvenience you would suffer if you just did the right thing when you had to do it.
Doctor?
Thank you very much. For me, I think individuals, when they uphold the moral values, they will be aware of the consequences of their actions. And therefore, it's important for us to even think out of the box and think about how we can minimize corruption in this country through inculcating these moral values in our youth, in our young people out there, so that everybody gets to know what values are and begins to cherish and live and abide by what we have as our national values in this country. Thank you very much.
So it's always the small things that end up growing into bigger things. So let's just focus on the small things we are doing, whether it's the way we walk, the way we talk, the things that we do. These are the things that actually impact our Uganda in a greater and graver way. Now, this is just the beginning of what your space is all about. We're always going to be here discussing things and allowing